Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And it is Friday, which means today is a Dear Peter advice video. And if you haven't watched these before, I have a series on my channel that is called Dear Peter, and it is all advice videos based on emails that you have sent me asking me for some advice. So if you would like to possibly have your advice question answered, email me at the email below and put in the subject title, Dear Peter, and I will see it and I will read it, and it might possibly be answered on one of my advice videos. But before we get into this, I want to say, these are life experience advice videos. These are not like clinical, psychological, evaluative videos. So those are more for, professional help. Seek that out if you're needing that. And a lot of times, if you email me, I will say, this is something that I think requires more professional help. So I'm not going to address those kind of very serious issues on this channel and in these videos unless it's from my own personal experience. So let's get into today's video. I'm really excited about this one, kind of because, I don't know, it's a very endearing advice question, but it's so genuine and honest as well. And it also reminds me of the movie Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore, which is like one of my favorite romantic comedies of life. So I don't know, I just thought it was such a sweet email that I got that I wanted to, and I think it's actually an issue that more people will relate to than you would think, because I get this kind of question a lot. So it is from Shiloh, and Shiloh said that I could use his name in this video, so thank you, Shiloh, and thank you for reaching out to me. He said, in this subject title, it said, Dear Peter, I've never been in a relationship and desperately want one. Dear Peter, first off, let me just say that I came across your channel about a year ago and have loved every single video that you've posted. I love that you talk about your past with alcohol addiction and being bullied in school, as it has helped me feel like I'm not the only one who went through a horrific time in my life. I cannot express how much I look forward to your videos and the lessons that I learned from your past experiences. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you for saying such kind things. Here is my dilemma. I'm a 26-year-old gay male who has never been in a relationship. I've never had a boyfriend before, and it amazes me that I can say that at 26 years old. I've always felt like an outsider looking in. I've had so many friends who have gone in and out of relationships and have so many stories to tell. Yet, all I can do is listen, because I have no experience in the dating world. Every time I see a couple together, I can't help but to feel jealous of something that I've never had. I keep on contemplating whether or not I should try to meet someone online or meet them organically. I'm a firm believer if something is meant to happen, then it will happen on its own. My fear is that if I try to force a relationship, then it won't work out. I'm also afraid of how someone would perceive me if they knew that I have no relationship experience. Will they assume I'm not ready for one, or will they like the fact that I've never been with anyone else? I don't know anyone in their mid-20s who hasn't dated someone before, so I feel completely helpless. I hope you can offer me some advice on how I should go about this. After all, I'm not getting any younger, and I don't want to wake up at 30 being single. Sincerely, Shiloh, a hopeless romantic. Okay, so Shiloh, this is actually an excellent topic, and first of all, I am a serial monogamist, which means I go from one long-term relationship to another. So I'm kind of like one of your friends that goes in and out of these relationships, and boy, do I have the stories to tell you. But I think at times maybe it would have been better for me, especially in my early 20s, if it would have been better for me to maybe have waited and been alone and had fun dating instead of like getting into a relationship. So that would be like my first piece of advice, right? But I'm going to assume that you want to be in a relationship by what you're saying, because if you didn't want to be in a relationship, your question would probably be something to the effect of, I don't really want to be in a relationship, but all my friends are, should I be? But I hear you saying, I want to be in a relationship, I just don't know how to go about it. I think the question of, will somebody be intimidated by the fact that you've never been in a relationship, or will they find that intriguing, is really dependent on the person that you meet, if that makes sense. I think it depends on, their openness and their honesty and their willingness. And I think that you sound like a very genuine, honest person, so that would be something that I would share from the get-go. If I met somebody that could possibly be a romantic situation, I would say, hey, I think it's important for you to know I've never been in a relationship. Well, why not? It's just never really happened for me. And that's not a bad thing. That doesn't say anything about you. That just says you haven't met the person that you wanted to be in a relationship with, you know? I think the other thing is, you know, the whole idea of when opportunity meets desire. Well, you've got the desire, but where's the opportunity? And I'm going to use a kind of recovery joke, all right? And it's going to come across as religious, but it doesn't have to be. So there's this joke, right? And it's about this guy, and he's like out in the middle of the ocean, and he is like drowning, and he's like, God, save me, right? And this boat comes by, and the boat's like, the people in the boat are like, get in. He's like, no, I've prayed to God. God's gonna save me. And so the boat goes by, and he's like, God, save me. And this helicopter comes by, and the helicopter puts down this, you know, a ladder, and it's like, climb up. And he's like, no, God's gonna save me. And the man drowns. And he ends up in heaven, and he is before God, and he looks at God, and he goes, God, I prayed, I believed, I prayed, and you didn't save me. And he goes, I sent a boat, and I sent a helicopter. What more did you want? And the moral of that story, I know a lot of people are like, boo. But I like that, you know, because I feel like if you really do believe that things are supposed to happen organically, what that says to me is that you believe in a system of spirituality in this world, that there are meanings to things, that things happen for a reason, stuff like that. Well, sometimes we have to put action to our dreams. Sometimes we have to do a little work to make the things out there that we want happen, okay? The reality is you're not just gonna sit at home and watch TV every night and Netflix and chill by yourself, and the mystery man of the world is going to show up at your door. It's just not going to happen. I do remember back in the day, I was like between relationships, which was probably about a month. You know, one of the suggestions I give to people now is take a year off in between any two relationships, because you need to get to know yourself a little bit better after each relationship. It's not a piece of advice I've always taken very well in my own relationships, but in the time that I do have in between relationships, I really focus a lot on my dreams, my desires, who do I want to be, and that's only prepared me better for the next relationship that I've been in, to a point now in the marriage that I'm at. Like, Alex and I are very good at, you know, being independent yet being together at the same time, and, you know, allowing each other to have their own life, whereas, you know, before I thought it had to be this like intense enmeshment where we had to spend every moment together, and that destroyed the relationship too. So the things I've learned from each relationship have made my relationship today a lot healthier than it ever would have been had I not been through those things. You know, I think the other thing that you have to think about is, it's interesting because I was in between a relationship one time, that's what I was saying, and I was watching TV with my mom, and we were watching Jerry Springer. Why? I don't know, because she loathed that show. She thought it was junk. And so we were watching Jerry Springer, and I said to my mom, I was like 20, okay, so I probably was like 22, it was before I got into my very first relationship. And I said to my mom, there was like this woman, and she was on there, and like these two men were fighting over her, right? And I said, Mom, I just don't understand. Like, this woman has two guys fighting over her, and I can't even meet a boyfriend. I'll never forget, my mom sat back, and she said, yes, look what they're fighting over. You know, like, I think to some degree, she's like, you know, you could have that too if that's what you want, you know? And so it's like, they're all screaming and yelling on stage, and that's the condition of the relationship that you want. You want people screaming and yelling over you. So, you know, like, you really have to think about the quality of the person that you want to be with, right? I mean, do you want them to be somebody that's going to scream and shout and show their ass and all that kind of stuff, or do you want somebody that's going to be an equal partner to you? And I think there's a lot of truth in that. I really believe any of us could walk out there today and find a partner if we really wanted to, but I don't know that that partner would be the one that we really wanted to be with, if that makes sense. So sometimes being single is not such a disaster. The other thing that my mom said to me one time, you know, my mom got divorced from my dad, and she dated when I was younger, but there was a point at about, 45, where she kind of stopped dating, and she really never dated again. And there were a lot of reasons why. That would actually be a really good video, why my mom didn't date in her later life. But you know, she said to me one time, I said something to her about, you know, don't you ever wish that you would get married again? Don't you ever wish that you'd have a boyfriend? She goes, absolutely. She's like, I would love to have a companion to do things with, you know, to travel and just have somebody to go to the movies with, and maybe, you know, have a peck on the cheek every once in a while. She's like, but Peter, the reality is we are not promised a partner in life. We are not promised a mate. Some of us are blessed to have that, and some of us are not. But we should be blessed for what we have, not what we don't have. It was interesting. Okay, so y'all know I love RuPaul's Drag Race, right? And I am rooting for Eureka O'Hara. And last night, in the midst of this whole thing going down, she said, I need to count my blessings, not my worries. And, you know, I think that's so true. Sometimes we look at what we don't have instead of what we do have. Now let me get into the advice piece of this video. What I would recommend to you, Shiloh, is to seek out some online dating websites. And I'm not talking about the illicit ones that we all know that are for sexual hookups, okay? You're not gonna meet a boyfriend that way, you just aren't. I mean, do I think that somebody has met a boyfriend that way? Sure. But by and large, we know what those are for. But if you do go to the websites, a lot of them are gay friendly as well, like eHarmony or Match.com, and there's a bunch of them out there, you know? And you pay a little bit for maybe a more intensive package where you can really, you know, see who people are and things like that on there. I have so many friends of mine that have met their husbands or wives through those online websites, because the reality is we live in a different world than we did, 20 years ago, where friends introduce friends, and it's harder the older you get. It really is. And I think that the whole online world can be really helpful, but I would recommend things like always meeting in a public space. It should never be initiated out of a form of intimacy like sex, and unless that's what you're looking for, but then please be safe as well. I've heard some terrible things happen to people that I know that hook up on dating sites and things like that, or hookup sites. But there are a lot of really safe ones out there with people just like you that want to meet other people, I don't know. It's hard. If organically, where? The gym, the grocery store, you cruising at the grocery store. Hey, I like that tomato. Do you like that? I mean, it's hard. I'm like, I have said before, thank God that my husband and I have the marriage that we do, because I don't know that I could be single again right now. I don't even know what I would do. You know what I mean? Honestly, I don't even know how I would go back into that world. I was never a good dater to begin with, okay? I could never date more than one person at one time. If I was dating you, I was dating you, and it was going forward, because I'm not going to waste my time. That's how I always felt about it. I didn't really understand, dating to me was not ice cream, okay? I can have 3 different kinds of ice cream and enjoy all 3 of them. But dating is different for me from that, because the end goal is what I'm looking for, which is a relationship. So the reality is, if you want to meet somebody, go where there are other people that want a relationship. And I think those are places like Match.com, eHarmony.com, places like that. And I've joked about them on my main channel videos, but I know so many people that have met one of my girlfriends, she met the most amazing man in the entire world that adopted her kids, and they've been together now for 10 years, and he is, I could not believe it. And she's like, I was never going to meet anybody else, and I was completely honest on my profile. I said, hey, listen, I have kids, whatever. Develop the profile and say, I've never been in a relationship before. I really want to be in a relationship, and this is who I am, this is about me, pick a picture, don't put your friends in your picture. They want to see you, not your friends, not your good Judies, not your, mom and all that kind of stuff. It's okay to put your dog in it. I like pictures of dog. But show who you really are, and I think that's okay. And I know that there are people out there that are like, oh no, I can't believe you're telling me to go to dating sites. Well, there are other places to go. You can go to church, you can go to, support groups, you can go to singles groups. But that stuff to me, I think is hard. Do speed dating, I guess. I've never known anybody that has really met anybody through those ways. The only way that I know that people have met people is either organically, somebody has introduced them, which you could ask your friends, I'm ready to date. Could you introduce me to somebody? But I also think that in the gay community, a lot of times, it's very competitive. It's you're either dating somebody's ex, or it's if I'm going to hook you up with them, why wouldn't I just date them, if that makes sense? So it's very competitive in the gay community as well, even though we like to act like it's not, but there is a lot of that in there. I've tried to hook my friends up like crazy. I like to think that I'm the matchmaker of the world, but I'm just not. It always ends in disaster. And then they're like, oh, the whole fight, oh, I got so-and-so in the divorce. Well, any of them want me, so I get nobody in the divorce. This one goes that way, this one goes the other way, and they're like, God, Peter hooked us up. So I'm not a good matchmaker. But I do think that a lot of those websites can help. I think there are, a lot of different ways to meet people today. But you got to put yourself out there. If there's somebody that you kind of have a crush on, if there's somebody that you kind of like, maybe say to them, hey, I find you attractive. Would you ever be interested in going on a date with me? You got to take some risks in life. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. The worst that person could say to you is, I think you're a disgusting bag of shit, and no, I don't want to go out with you. And yes, that would probably hurt a lot, but you would get over it. The best case scenario is that person says, I would love to go on a date with you. And if they don't, probably the reality is they would say, you know what, like I'm really busy, or no, I'm not interested, or whatever. And we can all deal with that. We're adults, right? And nobody's going to be so harsh to your face that they're going to say to you the first example that I gave you. They're just not. So you got to take some risks in life. If there's somebody that you have a crush on, if you're out somewhere, buy somebody a drink. Say, can I buy you a drink? I find you attractive, or just, hey, I'd like to buy you a drink, But you have to take some risks in life. I'm very thankful that I took a risk on reaching out to my husband, and that is not who I am. I'm always like, they can chase me. That was my old attitude. Today, I'm like, if you want something in life, you have to go for it, And I'm very thankful that I reached out to him. And at first, when I did, he said, I'm not interested. He's like, I'm still interested. He was honest. He was like, I'm still interested in my ex. And I was like, all right. I mean, I didn't lose anything over this. Whatever. And 6 months later, he was like, do you still want to take me out on that date? I'm like, oh, are you over your ex now? I said that too, and he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, let's go. But, I will tell you this, that it's interesting that my longest relationship that I've had, my healthiest relationship I've had, even though we've had our fair share of shit happen, is that I went into it absolutely no expectations for a relationship. In fact, I canceled the date twice, and then my friend told me, just go on it. You might make a friend out of it. What do you have to lose? And I went on the date, and, Alex and I have talked a lot about this on videos, but it was the most amazing date I've ever had, and I truly think it's because I went into it with absolutely no expectations whatsoever. So Shiloh, trust me, if you want to meet somebody, there are people out there for you to meet. You might have to go through a couple people before you meet the person that you want to be with for a long time, or for the rest of your life, or whatever. But you'll find somebody out there, but you gotta take some risks. You gotta try. And that's about building ourselves up and believing that we deserve that. And I believe that everybody deserves that. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.